Welcome to a brand new episode of the Soul Blazers podcast. Co-hosts Amanda Ware, our Christmas queen and founder of Hello Holidays, and Dr. Kara Osborne, our multi-venture guru, are ready to sit down and share their stories, insights, and wisdom to inspire aspiring trailblazers like you who are gearing up to start your own business, seeking personal growth, or looking for that spark to set your soul ablaze.
Ideas to action. As a 7 and people like me, we have lots of ideas. All the ideas. How do you know what to do with your great ideas? Which idea to go to, and how do you sift through that?
So there's a funny term that I learned recently in the entrepreneurship space called wantrepreneur, people who want to go do something but have not quite figured out how to make it happen. And I actually don't think that's a bad thing. I think the dreaming phase is the fun part. And if you are at a life phase or stage where whatever job you're in is the right thing to create stability in your life, but you want to dream about a business that you might start someday, the more ideas, the better. So, in human centered design, which is the way I've typically taught entrepreneurship, the brainstorming phase, the ideation phase is what it's called in human centered design, is important. And sometimes people skip to picking an idea without really having all the ideas, taking the time to really sort through all of your ideas. This is something that's going to be a big part of your life for a really long time. In some ways, it's like having a kid, right? Like, this is going to be a big commitment. And so, I actually think it's really important to sort through every idea you can possibly come up with before you settle on one. And then when you're ready to take it to the action step, there's all kinds of ways of doing it. But if you think back about Hello Holidays, did you go through all the ideas, or it was like this idea is the one that's sticking?
Went through a lot of ideas. The idea was to have a kit. That's how it started. With we have everything you need for this tree in one box. That's how it started. And so going through that was, and it just, we haven't gotten there yet. We're still not there, but I think there is something about trying every recipe and to see what works and not being stressed that the one idea that you're going through might not be where it lands.
Yeah, in software, we think of it as beta testing. In general, sort of service or product entrepreneurship, the idea is prototyping, but how do you come up with something called a minimum viable product? Like, what is the least amount of energy that you can put into something that you can actually have a meaningful customer interaction around? So, how do you just get it out there and start to get feedback? Because sometimes people get in this, sort of echo chamber of like, this is my idea, and I'm going to have people tell me how awesome it is. But they've not actually tried to interact with a customer yet. And then they spend months and months and thousands of dollars coming up with what they think is the perfect product. And they put it out, and the intended customer is like, nah, you know. And now you've wasted all that time and money and energy on something that doesn't have, the business term is product market fit. Like, what you've come up with is not what the market wants. Well, in human centered design, you start the opposite way. You start with questions or problems that the intended customer base has, and then you create a solution. But that's not how most people approach starting a business. They mostly think of it as like, well, I have this idea, then I'm going to go sell it to people. It's like, well, if you've started with what do people want, you don't really have to sell it.
Yeah, it's true. And can we talk about, because you and I are different with this, it's one thing you don't talk about what you're going to do, you just do it. And so no one knows you're going to do it because you just go do it. Where not with Hello Holidays so much, because I did not tell a lot of people I was running Hello Holidays because they were not my intended audience. My friends and family were not my intended audience, really. And so I didn't tell them only because of the fear of failure, only for the fear of failure. And I've gone the opposite direction where I've told everybody these things I'm going to do, and then I don't do them because things change, and then I'm left kind of embarrassed. Can we talk about when you finally think you're coming up on the right idea and who to tell and what that audience is? Is your mom your audience? Are your friends your audience? Tell me how you go about that. Who to tell and who not to tell. All the Instagram quotes say, keep it a secret, don't tell anybody what you're doing until you've got 10 million in the bank.
I don't think it's about keeping it a secret. I think it's about saying, here's the feedback I'm looking for from somebody who's actually gonna buy my thing. So if I were starting Hello Holidays from scratch, I would be out there talking to people who uh, procure Christmas trees for businesses and hotel lobbies, and like, walking into hotels saying, like, when you guys get ready to put your tree up, who decides what it's going to look like? And go talk to that person and see what goes into their decision making. If I were, you know, looking for a more residential clientele, I would go say, okay, friend of a friend who has an incredible tree. How did you do that? Where did that come from? How did you pick these things? Was it you? Did you hire somebody? That's called discovery, customer discovery. Go out and talk to your customer. It is not talk to your husband and your kids and your mom and dad unless you really believe that those are the people who are going to be your customers. Talk to them, but talk to them about supporting you in your idea and what you need from them to be able to move your idea into action. Don't necessarily talk to them about all the details of your idea because necessarily they're going to have opinions, and the opinions of the people who are closest to you mean a lot to you and could really alter your trajectory in a way that might not be the right thing for the actual product market fit, right? So if you've gone out, you've done all that discovery, and you've talked to all the people who actually put up Christmas trees in hotels. And then you come back and you're like, here are my 3 looks for the season. And your mom's like, ooh, I don't like that one. Well, that could actually have impact on how you feel about what you're selling. And it really shouldn't, right? So just not opening yourself up to unnecessary or feedback that's like just not going to be useful, right? It's like when people are trying to name a baby and they start telling people what their baby name is, and then everyone wants to say, oh, I went to elementary school with a guy that was named that or whatever. And now you've got all these other voices in your head rather than whatever your actual initial intention was. If you just wait and name that baby whatever you're going to name it, very few people are going to look at your baby and be like, ooh, I don't like its name.
Yeah, don't give people the option. That's true. I've had that experience. That's a good analogy for that. Right. So, and I catch myself doing that because I get so excited about it and I kind of want everybody to be a part and be excited for it. And then I get bummed when they have their own life and are completely uninterested.
Well, I think as long as you know that, it doesn't matter, right? Like if you're doing it because you're excited and you just need to get it out there, there is a thing about speaking it into existence. Put it out there. Very few things that you have not, actively put energy into are going to just magically appear. You have to have, it's what you're focused on, right? If you're focused on the negative, you're going to see more negative. If you're focused on the positive, you're going to see more positive. If you're focused on taking this idea and making it a reality and you're talking to people about it and you're putting energy and you're gathering up energy. So the other thing is when you talk about an idea, that gives the person you're talking to the opportunity to offer help, to say, oh, I know somebody who does that. Most of us want to help each other. And if somebody's got a resource that they think they could use, often they'll tell you, and they can't offer you those resources if they don't know what you're doing. So, one of the downfalls of me just starting things is it's often more work than it needed to be. If I had been willing to sort of talk about it or certainly ask for help, but even just talk about it, then you'll find that people come out of the woodwork who want to support what you're doing, but they can't do that if they don't know.
Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Soul Blazers podcast. Kara and Amanda, your soul blazing big sisters, are just laying the foundation for all of the amazing things to come. If you want to stay up to date on new episodes, be notified of any discounts, or get a glimpse of what we are working on behind the scenes, go to soulblazers.com and subscribe to our newsletter. Until next time, Soul Blazers!